I'm Alistair Haigh. I'm the Commercial Solutions Director at Rullion, and for the last 25 years, I've spent pretty much all of my time helping clients design, implement, and then evolve large outsourcing solutions for talent. Vicky?
Thanks, Alistair. So my name's Vicky Revis. I lead SAP Fieldglass for EMEA. SAP Fieldglass, part of the SAP technology portfolio, really focused on solutions to enable customers to manage their external talent that is not on their payroll, whether that comes in on a time and materials basis, services, whatever that might happen to look like. I've been in the external workforce world for, similar to Alistair, 25 years, really helping customers to look strategically at their external workforce and how they bring that into their organization and optimize it through the use of technology. So really delighted to join you for the conversation today.
Okay. At Rullion, we specialize in supplying talent into critical infrastructure sector, and a large part of that is energy. And I think anybody who's switched on a TV, read a newspaper in the last 15 years has obviously seen the real drive for renewables and increasing renewables within the UK and globally. I think the latest report I saw is that they're trying to quadruple the amount of solar energy globally by 2030. So with all of that push within solar, wind, nuclear, etc., what we see is a huge increased demand for talent. And the clients that we work with, we see addressing that in a number of different ways, whether it be looking to engage more with talent directly, selling the opportunities that they have for job security, progression. Also, they're very purpose-driven organizations, which can send a really positive message. They're aligning very well with universities, etc., to really address their demand internally for talent. But I think they're also looking to organizations like ourselves and SAP to support them with, well, okay, how do we make better use of the flexible talent market? How do we increase our effective utilization of contingent labor? And that's been a sort of key area of focus probably for Rullion and also for Fieldglass. So Vicky, how is it that platforms like Fieldglass are supporting agility in workforce management within the renewable sector?
So fascinating time. I think, whether we, dependent upon, I guess, where we sit in the globe, the priorities around sustainability and net zero, it's unarguable. Yes, it may be a diminishing priority in some areas, but organizations that are driving forward in that renewables sector really have a race for talent, but also a race for cost containment as well. So access to talent as well as cost, and balancing those two areas is where technology can actually play a part in helping to drive efficiencies across organizations. And that's where Fieldglass comes in. Technology is never a silver bullet that solves everything. Technology is enabled by people and process. And fundamentally, it's enabled by policy as well, by our customers. But what Fieldglass enables is an end-to-end process, if you like, that starts with that access to talent, starts with accessing talent through your suppliers and your strategic partners like Rullion, but also talent diversity as well. Diversity is critical in your modern supply chain. Most organizations, roughly 40% of work that gets done in most organizations is external. When we look in the energy sector, it actually probably tips over around about the 50%. That's a huge amount of talent that you need to bring into your organization in a swift and reliable and process effective way. Without technology, we're reliant upon emails and SharePoints and CVs in people's inboxes, and that's not a sustainable way forward. So what Fieldglass enables is that access to talent and that sustainable and repeatable process that managers can engage with, that allows them to focus on their day job rather than focusing on going out there and finding the talent, enables them to connect with partners like Rullion to be able to go out there and find that right talent in the marketplace that complement your own internal hiring. And then when we look downstream in the process, you've got the kind of engagement and onboarding process. The energy sector it's a high risk sector. It's machinery, it's engineering, it's really critical areas of infrastructure. And there are health and safety and onboarding requirements. And what Fieldglass enables is that health and safety and onboarding process that allows for those things to be done in a consistent and common way forward. And then we talk downstream towards invoicing. You've got things like rate card. You've got making sure that you're benchmarking the right rates and you're paying the right rates for the right skills. In-demand skills are costly. It is the nature of supply and demand in the marketplace. But it's important that you're not paying over the odds as well. So by being able to benchmark across both your internal workforce and your external workforce, and then driving that compliance all the way down to the timesheet and the invoicing process, is that kind of complete end-to-end life cycle that Fieldglass effectively underpins with both your internal teams, your procurement teams, your HR teams, focused on your talent and your supply chain, but also with your external service providers. There's a number of kind of key outcomes that we're able to drive that support that transition of skills, but cost containment as well.
I think one of the things that we see an awful lot with our clients is that their utilization of or their demand for flexibility is in terms of their workforce within the renewable sector is significant, largely driven by the different stages of particularly projects that they work on. So we'll see clients that have a sort of design and planning phase. There's then going to be a construction and commissioning phase. And then there's the sort of operational delivery phase beyond that. And their workforce needs vary dramatically as a result of that. How are you able to sort of help clients and support them with that in delivering the flexibility and the scalability that they need at different times of project life cycles?
The energy sector is not alone in project life cycle in terms of the transient nature of its business. But as you say, you've got that inception, initiate, build, and then operate sort of phases across the energy sector. And you've got a different need for skills across that. And you've also got different ways that those skills are engaged, often dependent upon those areas. You need different commercial setups, different contracting setups, and different recruitment processes. And what we're able to do is bring the differentiation dependent upon the skill categories that allow customers to then say, right, this skill category, this is the right route to market for that skill category based upon the geography, based upon the demand for skills in that area, based upon what does the market look like today. Technology enables that, but technology is only as good as the information it receives in as well. And the information it receives in is enhanced by AI, but it's also critical that the partners, service providers, and the customers help to feed that information in the right way, bringing in the policies, bringing in the external information around what do talent pools look like, what does availability of workforce look like, to enable the right decisions to be made by managers at the time that they need to get work done. Ultimately, what technology does is it provides data. What data should then do is not provide a report that sits in somebody's inbox. What it does is it provides the ability for in-time decision-making to be made by people who are out there wanting to get the project underway to initiate. It's critical if organizations are going to make the margins that one, that phase to get to operate in terms of initiate, design, and then build of maybe it's wind farm, they are done in the most cost-effective way. But then once you get into the run phase as well, you are minimizing non-operational time. That's what technology should underpin, enabled by the service partners.
And I agree entirely the point you make there about using that data to really enable decision-making. And that's real-time decision-making when you want to make a decision in the here and now, but also I think strategic decision-making going forward. So obviously we've been using technology for many, many years, and full disclosure, Fieldglass is part of that technology we use along with others, but having that access to data from previous projects, being able to look and understand, well, what did the mix of our talent look like there? Why did it do that? Can really help setting costing expectations for future projects. That really, really helps. With AI and with other tools that we see coming to the market now, do you see that sort of utilization of data helping in terms of planning for talent and actually obtaining talent in the future?
Well, data's the new gold, isn't it? It's, if you look at in the modern era, data is essentially work without data. The large language models, all of these areas, they need to scrape and understand and analyze the data in order to then be able to make the recommendations and drive it forward. So data normalization and harmonization is critical to enable that to happen. So step one is table stakes, if you like. You have to automate and digitize processes in order to have data. AI can't go and scrape inboxes and PDFs buried down on somebody's desktop. Understanding that data, normalizing the data. And then how do you take that, as you say, layer AI on that and drive it forward? AI can look at scenarios. AI can also take data points and look for similar areas. So, I don't know, looking at a build phase of a new wind farm in the North Sea, for example, or off the coast, what does AI linked with things like weather patterns and conditions, linked with the skills talents, linked with the previous history of time of jobs to get done, give us in terms of information of the amount of skills, resources, and overall costing of jobs that you're going to need to get work done? You're bringing in more than the workforce element to that. But in order to make sure that you've got the workforce piece right, you need to understand, as you say, what were the key areas of deliverables that made this particular item go beyond the scope? Was that not scoped properly? If you don't have the data elements in the first place and understand why change requests were written against a project, why additional resources need to come in, it could be that there was a weather impact, for example. This industry is hugely impacted by weather conditions. If there is a massive delay because there is a storm and climate change is pretty prevalent, maybe that's the area, and you've got to maybe work out what's the best time of the year to do this work. All of these sort of data elements, and they go beyond the workforce, allow for that business planning, and business planning, part of that is workforce planning. Let's say workforce planning is your payroll workforce and your non-payroll workforce. And organizations need to really embrace the totality of their workforce in order to bring together the data attributes of both the permanent workforce and the external workforce to then do that true strategic workforce planning. Layer that with AI, and that's where you've got the gold.
I think one thing that we certainly see within all the sector as a whole, and it's also the same in a number of additional sectors such as transportation, that there is a growing demand for talent, but there is also a significant shortage of talent. And that's exacerbated by aging workforces, political decisions that have been made, should we say. Whatever happens, we are going to have to reskill people so that they can work in these sectors. Now, there's some good initiatives there. If we look at things like the European Battery Alliance Academy, that's looking to train, I think, around 800,000 people and reskill them in Europe in the next 3 years. How do you see AI and technology and data supporting organizations to identify which are the skill sets which are most easily transferable and identify those workers who can be reskilled reasonably quickly and efficiently and brought into the renewables sector?
I think it's looking for those common areas in CVs, transferable skills. Having somebody doing that physically and going through CVs and work, that's incredibly labor intensive. You can now go and ask AI to go and do those things for you, interrogate the database, understand where you've got those skills, and really then provide a real shortlisted group of candidates that you can then go after in order to identify for reskilling and retraining. And that's where the combination of technology, but then people drive the process. There is still a huge amount of that human interaction, but it's making sure that organizations can benefit from efficiencies by not trying to boil the ocean and try to go through every candidate. I started my career in the world of recruitment, and we used to sit there and go through a database and physically read every single CV. That's not a scalable or a sustainable or a margin efficient for anybody. So you've got to be able to harness things like AI and look for those skills for transition and identify those patterns.
Yeah. And I think also being able to utilize AI once, as you've correctly said, once you've got that data and you can understand the talent you have within your business, then you can use AI to replicate and understand, well, what were the pathways? Where should we be looking for talent? It also represents a range of challenges. So we're seeing changes from skills, for example, within wind farms, where typically a wind turbine will be taken off grid, a maintenance engineer would then go and look at it, understand if there's any preventative maintenance needed to be done, and then it could be brought back online. But now we're seeing actually drone operators taking aerial footage of the wind turbines, feeding that into AI, that interprets the data and the images to say, well, actually, that needs doing, so it can be done much more quickly. But as talent providers, for us, it means, well, actually, now we're not looking for a maintenance engineer, but we are looking for drone operators. We're looking for people skilled in statistical analysis, people who can build the AI models that enable that imagery to be assessed. So I think all of these things, you're always going to need that people element, but you need the data at the heart of it in order to really start making informed strategic decisions.
Well, I don't know about you, Alistair, but when I started working, we didn't have the internet. So, look at the skills transitions that have had to have happened over the years. Well, this is just another example of a skills transition.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And on that note, I think we'll conclude. So, Vicky, thanks so much for your time today. Really insightful stuff, and look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Thank you.